Hello and welcome from Mauritius. Today's one of those rare days that it's actually not that windy out, so I thought it'd be a good chance to do some maintenance on my foils. As you probably can see here by this wingtip, I do have a bunch of scratches on my foil, and while these are not deep into the layers, they are, cosmetically damaged. They do affect the performance slightly, so I want to go ahead and get those fixed. So what I want to do is share with you guys how I repair the foils and give you guys some little tips and tricks along the way. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to go ahead and show you the tools that I use. First you're going to need is you're going to want to go ahead and clean off the surface of the foil, and for that you can either use isopropyl alcohol, give it a good rinse first, then dry it up. I personally just end up using some Windex. They have a little bit of alcohol in it, so you spray it off to dry it up. What you're going to need next is you're always going to need your Sakura paint pens. Now there are two different types of paint pens that I have. I have the standard paint pen, and I also have this little fine paint pen. The difference being I use the fines and the smaller little tiny cracks because this one can work as in. Then to get the bigger one to do larger surfaces. So in this area right here, I would use the large one, but say if I had just a tiny scratch right here, I'd probably go ahead and just switch to the fine. You're also going to need an assortment of wet sanding paper. I recommend going from 800 grit up to 2000 grit, and just work your way up depending on how much it is. It's just using the fine, it's a very small spot, I might just use the 2000. If I'm doing a big area, I'll start with the 800, so that way I'm not sitting there with the fine grit and just having to work hours and hours and hours. Also with the sandpaper, if you don't have access to it, they do make the wet sandpaper in little blocks. That way you don't have any point loads, or you can just get yourself a sanding block. What these do is instead of having point pressure, where you might push on your finger and dig too deep in one spot, it helps distribute the load better, makes for a better sand. So let's go ahead and let's get started. First step is you're going to want to go ahead and wash off your foils, especially if you've been in the salt and you haven't been cleaning. You want to get rid of all the salt and impurities. Once you give it a good wash and it's dried, you then can wipe on your alcohol, use your window cleaner, give it a good spray, scoop it off, make sure that I'm not keeping dirt and debris inside there. It won't stick, it just peel right off. So good, always, just like any fiberglassing, paintwork and all that, preparation is 90% of the work, so make sure you give yourself getting good thorough cleaning, and then if you make sure to dry. Today got a little bit of sun helping me out. You can see it's almost dry, but I'm going to let that sit for a few minutes and we'll come back and we'll go ahead and start with this section first, just to show you a quick way to apply it. It's got a nice little turn knob, only one direction, and you just kind of want to just work it in. You're going to weave back and forth, trying to dig it into the groove. Now some of these grooves, if they're a little deeper, might take a second filling. You don't need a, just like Bondo, I don't know if you've done that, but you just want to make sure you're leveling out the surface. So, but you don't want to go too thick, just like in your spray paints. If you do too many coats, it may not get to dry. So what I like to do is just rub it back and forth, try to, if there's a deeper gouge, just kind of put a little bit more pressure into it. And since this area has a lot of scratches to it, I'm actually just going to go ahead and cover the whole area. Okay, now that I've given it a second coat, I've given it about 15-20 minutes to dry, let's go ahead and start to do some wet sanding. Since this is a larger area, I'm going to start at the 800 grit level. You can start with 1000 and then work your way up to 2000. If you just have a small little scratch and you put it in there, you can go ahead and start with a 2000. I'm just going to start with a little bit of coarser grit. That way, cut down my sanding time so I don't fill up my sandpaper as quick. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to do all the hard work. I'm going to let the magic of video and television and editing switch to time lapse, so that way you can just enjoy some music, get to watch it in fast motion, and I'll come back to you when done. Well, there you have it. Nice foil, it's all cleaned up, all the nice scratches have been taken care of. Now it's time to just get out there and yak out on the water. Now, if you have any other tips and tricks that you'd like to share, feel free to add it down in the comments down below. If you found this video helpful, just wouldn't mind just hitting the like. And if there's anything else you guys think that we should add, maybe to try to do something next, like maybe tuning a foil or any other comments you might think of that you would foil related that you'd like to hear about, just go ahead and add those in the comments too, and maybe we'll do that in the next video. Until next time, see you around, guys. I just wanted to show you guys another example. Here is another foil that I have that does not have the paint on it. It is just the exposed carbon weave with a clear coat on top, but you can see I got a scratch in it. I went ahead and filled it in with the paint pen and went through the whole sanding process. After I was done sanding, you are left with just this little piece of the paint. You can see in the upper surface up there, and right here is another spot, but you get left with this nice paint, and it is nice and smooth. You can't really feel it at all.